Well, I don't know who we're missing. Randy? Yeah, thank you.
Sherman, I think 62.
Thank you. Yeah, of course. That'll be another minute or two.
It'll be a field trip.
All right. So, thank you all. Obviously, I'm quite here today. So, who are we missing? Where am I? What day is it?
Yeah.
Okay, so sit comfortably. Let yourself. If you want to sit up on blankets, grab them. Oh my, I forgot. We need a strap. I'm sorry, I forgot. Grab a strap if you don't have your own off the one of the cases in here. And if you're at home, get a strap handy too. It's for later, but good, and then start to sit comfortably. Watch your back. Find your, really the best way for your hips, for your legs to be, however that is. Close your eyes. Let your shoulders feel nice and wide and open. And then just accept your breaths now, in and out through your nose. Let your breath easily come in and go out. And take time to rest a little bit in those spaces between your breaths. So it's almost feel when you feel those little pauses or spaces, it's like you're relaxing a little bit deeper. Sometimes it's almost like you feel like you can get lost in those little spaces between your breaths. And now let's start to make easy little circles with our torsos. So it doesn't matter which direction you go because we'll switch in a bit. So just keep circling in the same direction, letting your exhalations bring you forward and your inhalations bring you back. Doesn't matter how big either the circles are. They can be very small and they can get bigger and bigger. We are going to stop in order to go the other direction, so it depends on you where you want to pause and then just reverse directions. And now the next time that you end up forward a little bit, let yourself stay forward. You're in a little bit of a seated forward bend there. And then shift a little to your left. Put your left hand on the floor beside you and let your right hand just encourage your right knee a little bit more away from you. So you come into feeling the side waist up here a little bit more. Just enjoy. Imagine you're just reaching that knee away from you and your hands encouraging it a little bit more. And then we'll shift back through center and we're going to go to the other side. So as the right hand comes to the floor, the left hand just encourages that knee away a little bit Find a little more in the side waist. And then we'll shift back into center. And in your forward bend, you decide, put your hands there if you want. If you want to walk further out, further forward, that's up to you. Whether you feel good at the end to go ahead and fold or not is totally up to you as well. So just be mindful. Enjoy your breath. We're going to slowly walk ourselves back up. And be aware of what leg you have in front. We're going to go ahead and bring our feet to the floor, hold on behind our thighs, lean back a little bit, walk your feet back a little bit more, and then lift them on up in the air a bit. You can get your lower legs parallel to the floor if you want. You can clasp your hands to kind of hold your legs up there and even let yourself feel the weight of your legs a little bit. But you're really supporting your legs with your arms and your hands. Well, one more breath here. And then we're going to cross the other leg in front as we come on forward again. And let's come on, hands to the floor. And again, you can stay up high with a long back. You don't need to keep walking further out. Totally up to how you and your back and your hips feel. Just be mindful. Let your head release if possible. Enjoy feeling the ribs expand on your inhalations. Good, and one more breath. And let's walk ourselves on back up and let our hands come out onto the floor beside us here now. And let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And let our exhale bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. And then we'll reverse, inhaling the hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down. And let's take a little twist here, inhaling into the length of your spine. And on your exhale, twist to your left. Let your right hand come around, maybe to your left knee, maybe to the midline. And feel the back fingertips just very, very lightly touching the ground back there. Enjoy feeling your sitting bones drawing down. Zip up your low belly. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we'll come on back around through center. We're going all the way into the other direction. So finding that twist in the middle of the back. Letting yourself bring your focus to where it feels good for your neck. You may want to look beside yourself. You may want to turn to look a little more back. One more breath. And let your exhale draw you on back around into center again. And then from here, bring your chin on down towards your chest. And just roll your left ear towards your left shoulder. Let yourself release through the side of the neck a bit there. And then roll the head back forward again. And we'll just go the other side. And you can do that a few times if you want. You can let yourself just easily let your head roll center and side and center and side. And just be mindful of releasing through your neck and your upper back as well. Good. And then come on back into center with your head. Rise your gaze on forward. Bring your arms out beside you and inhale your arms straight out from your shoulders and flex your hands. And then draw your hands forward of your shoulders so you're still flexed. And then let's just turn our hands the other way so fingertips face down, and now you're really pressing out into the heels of the hands. And then go ahead and bring the fingertips back up again and make loose fists with your hands and let your wrists circle as you gradually start to let the arms open. So you're just slowly bringing the arms as you circle the wrists to where they end up out beside you, straight out from your shoulders. And then once you're there with the arms straight on out, then release your fists, shake your hands out a little bit, bring them on down, kind of swing your arms around a little bit. And we're going to come on around towards our hands and knees. So stretching the legs out and bringing yourself on around to But first, get yourself set up with your hands, so if you need to come onto fists, do. And then send your right foot back behind you on the floor just to stretch that leg out here at first and engage your belly a little bit. Really open up through the back of the leg. And then we'll put that knee back down and go to the other leg. So you're reaching out and again finding the back of that left leg. And, you know, you can look down, you can drop your head and look back at your foot if that feels good in your neck. Good, and then come on back and let's bring the right foot back again. Curl the toes under and then see if you can lift your left knee and foot up off the floor so you're a little more into your hands. And flex that foot that's up, that left foot, and then point the toe. And then flex it, and then point it. And then put the knee back down. And we're going to switch legs. So send the left foot back, curl the toes under, and this time lift up that right knee and foot. And see if you can flex it, and point it, and flex it, and point it, and bring it back down. And come on into child's pose here now. Let yourself release back. And again, you know, take your time. You need to stay forward. Don't push anything into the knees or the hips. Let your arms be soft. However you want to position them is fine, but let them be soft. Breathe into your low back. Good. One more breath here. Let your chest kind of melt down towards the ground if you can. And then we're going to make our way back up to all fours and move through cat-cows. So letting your breath carry you as you flow through your back. Just be mindful and easy. And finish off the one you're on. Come on back to more neutral spine. And let's bring our left foot forward, our right foot back. And when you do, you grab your blocks, of course, and you lift that back knee up. Just take your time to get your alignment there where you're comfortable to be, whatever height you want your hands. Draw your shoulders down away from your ears and feel that engagement of your belly and the length of the back body. Float your left heel a little off the floor. If you can float it more up, do. If you get even higher, that's fine, but if not, that's fine too. Get the heel up, and then release your heel back down. And we're going to switch legs and bring our right foot forward, our left foot back. Get that alignment in your lunge there, where you know you're set to be. Feel this length in the back of the body now. Engage the belly. And then float your right heel, maybe just a little up, or maybe it feels good to get that right front heel higher and higher and higher. Feel that inner left thigh. Imagine that inner left thigh reaching up towards the ceiling. And then put your heel back down. And we're going to switch legs again. Now this time, once you get into your lunge, and you might want a blanket under your right knee, we're going to put it down onto the mat. And we're going to press into the top of the foot. And if you want to come up higher, I mean, you can move your blocks up to the highest height. Let yourself get your shoulders more over your hips here. You can put your hand or hands on your thigh there above your knee if you want, and give yourself a little more support that way. So you just gradually get yourself into a little bit more happening in the front of this right hip. And then, of course, if you feel comfortable to bring your hands off your leg to your heart, or bring your arms up overhead, you can, but don't push it. If you feel better, to keep your hands down and really focus on that opening through the front of that right hip too. Good. And we're going to bring our hands down if they were up, and we're going to switch legs. So again, you got the left knee down. You can always arrange the blanket if you need a blanket there. Try to shift your hips a little bit forward. Now, how far you go forward with your hips, it's different for everybody, right? So don't force it. You might be a little more back like that. That's fine. It might feel fine to shift a little more forward and bring your hands up to your thigh, or it might not, right? Above the knee there. If you press with your hands, that gives you some support and control, that's for sure, of how it feels in the front of that left hip there. Or again, you can let your hands come to your heart or arms overhead if you choose. And if you're like, no, it feels much better to me to be supported and be able to really control with my hands down, then do. Good. One more breath there. And now, if possible, bring your right knee back like you're standing on your knees. And again, you might need to have a blanket under your knees, but let yourself come on up and be right here on your knees. See if you can let yourself find the alignment of your pelvis here now. So the belly's engaging, but you don't want to try to tuck your tailbone up under you, but you also don't want your belly to hang out. So feel the lift of the belly. And then see if you can just, as one piece, let your body come back a little bit. It's like a hinge. And then come back all the way up over your knees. So you let yourself come back just a little bit till you feel your thighs. Well, it doesn't take far, does it? And then you can come back up again, all the way upright. And then one more time, let yourself hinge back. Keep that length here that you found when you stretched out there in the front of the hips. And then we'll come on back. We're going to bring our hands on down to the floor. We're going to curl our toes under and reach back into a downward facing dog pose. Once you're in dog, move around however you want to. If you need to walk, let yourself walk. If your knees need to bend, if you need to check out your hands, feel free to look forward at your hands and make sure you get those pointer fingers fairly parallel to each other so it feels really good to bend your elbows. Feel that sense of that hollowing in your armpits and that comfort in your shoulders. Nothing like a down dog. And one more breath. Good. And from here, we're going to step our right foot forward and then our left foot forward and come on into standing forward bend. So feet hips distance apart and parallel. And you decide whatever kind of support you need. Hands on blocks, elbows above knees, whatever works to support your back. If you're fine to hold your elbows or let your hands release to behind your legs or up onto your back, by all means do. And just breathe. Just let the pose help you find more and more openness in the backs of your legs and more release in your spine from the weight of your head. Let your teeth separate a little bit. Feel that sense of totally letting your jaw relax. And then bring your hands onto your hips. We're going to press into our feet and rise on up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. So finding your mountain pose here now. If you need to adjust in any way, do. Let your, if you need to sway around a little bit, let your feet adjust a bit, do. But take your time. Let yourself just allow the body to have a little bit of time to find its way into that alignment. Once you get there, then it's so easy to be in your mountain pose. It's almost effortless. Enjoying that balance between your right and your left side and between the front and the back of your body. And as we unfold our arms right on down beside us, we'll inhale both arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, bend our knees, come on forward into our standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find the longest back you can. And exhale, right foot back into lunge. And inhale, exhale into your downward facing dog pose. Good, let your next inhale carry you out to your plank. And we are going to lower down. It doesn't matter whether you put your knees down first or not. Elbows right by the ribs. And let's come into a little sphinx with our elbows under our shoulders. Turn your palms up for a second and let your hands totally relax, which, usually means your fingers curl in a little bit. And just press down gently into the elbows there, but not so much you feel uncomfortable. And imagine, really opening your heart here in your Sphinx pose. Good. And we're going to release back down, and we're going to make our way back to down dog, whether you come through hands and knees or through a half push-up or a full push-up. Spread your fingers wide. Feel your hands on the floor equally. And then we'll bring our right foot forward and come into lunge. And you can put your left knee down if you need to get there. And we'll come on back into standing forward bend again. Go right to your breaths. Let your arms easily release to wherever they need to go. And really let yourself go right into those easy, full, deep breaths. If you can, even out your inhales and exhales a little bit. Or even let your exhales extend out a little bit longer than your inhales. Good, and then we'll bring our hands up to our hips, and as we press into our feet, we're going to rise up and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Unfolding our arms beside us, let's bring our hands behind us and clasp them, and interlace your fingers, but just your fingers, right? So your thumbs are kind of apart, and it's like you've interlocked your fingers back here behind you. And you're trying to pull them apart, but you can't because they're locked together, right? And see if you can so the hands are just slightly off the bottom if you can do that. And keep pulling, pulling, pulling like you're trying to separate your hands. Now be aware of what your tailbone's doing. Feel the tailbone reaching down towards between your heels. This really feels engaged up into your biceps and your shoulders. You're still pulling and you're still squeezing your fingers. Now, one more breath, but when you let go, see what happens. See if your arms just kind of, when you let go, float up a little bit higher and then higher and higher on your own. And as you exhale, bend your knees and come on forward into standing forward bend. Let your inhale help you find that flat, long back. And this time we'll step left foot back to come into lunge. And inhale, exhale into your downward facing dog pose. Spread your fingers, find your dog, see if you can get settled into your dog, and then focus on your breath. Feel the breath coming into the back ribs. So you literally feel the back ribs rise up a little bit when you inhale. Good, and on your next inhale, make your way out to your plank. And then see if you can lift your right foot up a little off the floor. And then bend your right knee, bring it in towards your chest. And then stretch it back long. You're still on three leg plank here. And then put the foot down. Try the left foot up. And then slowly bend the knee, draw the thigh in a little bit. Stay in your plank. And then bring it back to the three legs. And then put your foot down. Here you're back to your full plank. It feels easy now. We're going to lower down. Knees first if you need. Elbows right by the rib. And we're going to come into a little cobra. You can stay very low. If you want, you can just even have your hands off the floor. Really use your back body. And then, of course, if you'd like to go higher, replace the hands to the floor and press your way up. Come to where you want for your cobra. Remember, elbows slightly bent in towards the ribs. You don't want to hyperextend in your elbows. Good. And then we'll release to come on back down. Bring your arms down alongside your body. Turn your palms down towards the ground. And then on your next inhale, float everything you can up into a little locust pose. So reaching fingertips and toes back towards the wall behind you. Come down again. Once you get down with your head and your hands and your legs, bend your knees. Flex through your feet. Decide if you want to lift up a little bit there. Some of you might really already want to reach back and get your feet. You can hold the tops of your feet, pull your heels in a little bit, Or you might want to push in your feet into your hands and come up a little. You don't have to go into a really full bow pose here. And then come on back, down with your head, down with your legs, hands by the chest, and we're going to come on back into down dog from here. Reaching your way back into your downward facing dog pose. Walk a little bit, wag your tail around. So really think about the hips shifting a little bit side to side. Doesn't matter what the feet do or the knees, just let that shift happen. And then come on back into your full dog. We are going to bring our left foot forward to come into lunge. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend. And right to our breaths. Release wherever you want your arms to go. You want to hold your elbows. If you want to clasp your hands and put them at the back of your head, you know, not pulling on your head. It's just a little added weight if you do that part. Or maybe you want to put your hands up on your back or behind your legs. Find those spaces between your breaths again. And then we'll let our hands come back to our hips. We're going to bend our knees and rise on up. And inhale the arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. Find your mountain pose for a breath or two here. We're going to move with our breath now. So really let the major focus for these next two sun salutations be with your breath. Really imagine that those breaths are carrying you through the poses of your sun salutations. We're going to release our arms down beside us and let our inhale carry our arms up and out. And on the exhale, we're going to fold forward. And we're going to inhale into a long back and exhale right foot back to lunge. And inhale, exhale into down dog. And we're going to let our inhale bring us to plank. Our exhale will lower us down. And inhale into our cobra of choice. Exhale back into down dog. Inhale. Exhale right foot forward into lunge. And inhale. Exhale to your standing forward bend. Bend the knees rising all the way to the top. And on the exhale, we're going to come forward. Let your inhale lengthen your spine. Exhale, left foot back to lunge. And inhale. Exhale into down dog. Now let your inhale bring you to plank. And let your exhale lower you down. Inhale into your cobra. And exhale back into downward dog. Inhale. Exhale, left foot forward, lunge, and inhale. Exhale to your standing forward bend. Bend the knees, rising all the way up to the top. And on the exhale, we'll fold forward again. Inhale, nice long back. We are going to step or jump into down dog, so come back to your downward facing dog pose. Take your time to settle in. If you need to move around a little bit, do, or walk, or bend your knees. Good. Come back to your breath. Let your breath settle down a little bit. And from here, we'll bring our left foot forward. We're coming up for warrior one. Have both your blocks handy. So let yourself get a round square with your shoulders towards the front of your mat. And let your arms float just kind of like a breath away from you. And turn your palms forward. So you feel this sense of reaching down through your fingertips. Make sure that back foot is angled where you're comfortable in your back knee, your ankle, and all the way also up into your hip. And enjoy that open feeling in the front of your right hip. Good. And then we're going to inhale the arms all the way out and up. Now, if you can clasp your hands, do. Send your pointer finger out. Hug your elbows in a little bit, but let yourself really enjoy coming into your warrior one. If you want to look up and bring your arms back more in line with your ears, that's fine. But if you feel better for your arms to stay somewhat forward, then be comfortable in your shoulders. Let yourself just enjoy finding that uplift in the front of the body. Feel both feet equal in the floor, arches lifting up. One more breath. And then as you bring your gaze forward, let your hands come right down through the midline to be in front of your chest, in front of your heart. And we'll unfold our arms. We're going to straighten the front leg out. Attempt to get your hip pointer bone square. Adjust the back foot however you need. Keep your hands on your hips for a second and let yourself come forward for pyramid. So thighs are lifting up towards the hips. Imagine drawing your right hip pointer bone towards your left one. And now you go as far as you want without your hands. When you get ready to put your hands down, that's up to you. You can stay up a little bit more with your hands up, or you can go ahead and release your hands down to any surface you want to use, of the blocks or the floor. And remember, blocks have all those heights, so once you do decide to put your hands down, adjust how you need. And if you need to adjust your back foot at all, right? Sometimes it's lengthwise, sometimes it's widthwise, right? So feel the thighs gently lifting up towards the hips. Now that you have your hands down, just lengthen out through both sides of the body. And for a second, really pay attention to feeling your hip pointer bones being drawn towards each other with your belly, and then let your tailbone reach back a little farther. Very intense. And then if you're able to fold over your front leg because that feels really good, you can go ahead and let yourself come forward. If not, don't do it. Stay up with that long back. Good. One more breath. And then let yourself come on back so that you're no longer in your back again. And we're going to find lunge here. We're going to bend the front knee. Reach now directly behind ourselves with that right heel, setting up for a twist here in our lunge. So you can decide if you want to bring your right elbow across to your left knee and bring your hands into prayer hands. Or maybe you prefer to keep your right hand down on a block of the floor and bring your left hand on up to your low back or stretch the arm up. So find the twist of choice for you. Enjoy. Reach out through the top of your head. Feeling that length through the spine. Good. We are then going to bring ourselves back into lunge, and we'll make our way back into downward facing dog pose. Once you're in dog, walk to the tops of the toes a few times, right? So you go all the way to the top of one foot and then the other, and you stay there to press down. So you really get into that release for the feet. Good. Once you feel a little bit better there, come on back to your full dog and come on out to plank. Decide if you want to add any kind of back bend or not. You don't have to. You can stay in plank. You can move to an up dog whether you choose to go through chaturanga or not. And then we'll come on back into down dog. And we'll do that one more time. Come out to your plank. Decide if you want to add any kind of back bend or not and what kind you choose. And then we'll come on back again into down dog. Walk your dog a little bit, wag your tail around a little bit. Good, and we are going to set up for the other side, bringing our right foot forward and coming on up for that warrior one. So get your legs established, and as you rise on up, take your time. If you need to widen your stance a little bit or lengthen or shorten your stance, do. And again, as you get pretty settled in here with your feet and your legs, float your arms a breath away from you and turn your palms forward. So you can actually bow your head and look at the front of your mat, and you can peripherally see where your hands are. So if you have your left hand kind of farther back, it tells you your shoulders are not square. So you want to be able to peripherally see each hand down there and have them feel like they're equal. And then bring your gaze on forward. We're going to rise the arms all the way up overhead, clasp the hands, bend the elbows as much as you want. Send your pointer finger up. Now, whether you keep the elbows bent or come into straighter arms is up to you. And again, if you like to feel that lift, you can start to look up a little bit. Feel the lift right at the base of your shoulder blades. Coming into that warrior one here now. Feeling that lift through the front of the body. Release down the back of the body. Arches lifting up. One more breath. gaze back forward. Let your hands come down through the midline to be in front of your chest, in front of your heart. And as we unfold our arms, remember we're setting up. So if you need to adjust to get your hips around square for your pyramid pose, do. And then keep your hands up on your hips if you can as you start to make your way forward. Thighs engaging up towards the hips. Think of drawing your left hip pointer bone towards your right. You know, and you keep your hands on your back or your hips. You can, anytime you want, bring hands down to any height you want to be with your hands as well. So take your time. Once you do get your hands down, if you need to adjust your stance a little bit from there because you feel just a little bit off, then go ahead and do it. So that you feel okay, you feel like you're pretty level in your hips. You can always use your right hand back there to kind of check and make sure you're not, you know, off in your hips, that you're not way cockeyed there. Now, as you do start to engage, feel that engagement of the belly, like you're drawing your hip pointer bones towards each other. Feel what that does to your belly. Now, keeping that, see if you can reach your tailbone back a little further, which is really something. And of course, if you like to fold over that front leg, that is totally up to you, whether it feels good or not, to let yourself come over the front leg. Don't do it if it's too much. Keep yourself up. Still keep the legs engaging with the thighs lifting up towards the hips. Good. One more breath. And then come back a little more parallel to the floor so your back's longer. We're going to bend the front knee and find lunge. So again, as you reach now to let that left heel reach directly behind your foot, setting up for your twist of choice in your lunge. You can bring your left elbow across to your right knee. Bring your hands into prayer hands if you choose to. Or, of course, you can keep yourself with your left hand down and bring your right hand on up to your low back and check your alignment there. Make sure you're not dropping into that left long leg. And you can stretch your arm up. So this twist is one that feels really good to you as you reach into your inner heel and out through the top of your head so that your spine is so long. You've got such a long line down your body here. Beautiful. And then we'll come on back down into our lunge, and we're going to make our way back into downward facing dog pose. Good. Once you're there, walk again to the top of your feet, 1 foot at a time. And see if you can, once you've done that a couple of times, see if you can do this. Go to the top of 1 foot and then come forward like you're doing a plank and you're pressing into the top of the toes of that 1 foot. And then come on back and go back into your down dog. And then you do the other side. So you come down with the knee, you come out like you're doing a plank, and then you go back. Now you can do a few of those if you want. Or you can like, yeah, no thank you. And then if you'd like to do something else, do it. So if you want to do any set of vinyasas or kriyas, feel free. Be mindful, let it feel good. Enjoy whatever it is you choose to do. Putting your knees down and resting in child's pose is a perfect alternative as well. And we're going to finish off and meet back in down dog. Good. And from here, we will bring our left foot forward. We're coming up for warrior 2 this time. You might want your blocks handy. Keep them there if you need them. Line up your heels. Line up your front knee. Lift your front heel, left heel off the floor a little bit so your knee really has no choice but to line up at the center of your foot. And then bring your heel on back down. And let's bring our arms on up and out a little higher than your shoulders with your hands. But let your gaze come down towards the front of your mat on the floor there. So you're releasing your neck there. Your hands are just a little high. One more breath. Feel your legs, your feet in the floor, and then all the way up into your legs and your hips. And then as you rise your gaze, let the hands lower enough to where you can look right out over the top of that left hand. Very easily. You don't feel stress in your neck. Feel the feet in the floor. And we'll turn the left palm up, and we're going to inhale, reach up towards the sky into reverse warrior. Right hand can give you a little support. You can slide it further down your right leg if you want. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we'll come into our side angle, left hand or forearm onto your thigh, and adding that right arm on up into line if you choose. Letting the pinky finger turn down a little bit there of that right hand. Right shoulder comes away from your ear. And actually now let's make one big circle with this right arm. Let the arm come straight up above your shoulder and then lower it down like it's coming down to the right side of your body there, but it's going to keep swinging in front of your chest and all the way back up into line. Let the pinky turn down, press into that left forearm, one more breath, and we're going to come on back into Warrior Two, pressing the feet away from each other as we come. And now let your hands come down. We're going to turn our feet more parallel. Adjust the width of your stance, right? If you want it pretty wide and you're still pretty parallel, we're going to bring our arms out for five-pointed star, reaching out through the fingertips. Let yourself have your hands a little higher than your shoulders and feel your shoulders melt down. And now make sure you're not tucking your tailbone forward, okay? I'm exaggerating a lot when I say that, but really reach the tailbone back a little bit so you have that alignment, that curve in the low back. And we're going to bring our left arm on top of our right. Give yourself a little hug here. Head in towards your eagle wrap if you can. If you don't want to, stay hugging if you'd rather. Breathing, opening up there between the shoulder blades on the back. Good. Now, this is optional. If you want to bend your knees, bring your elbows down a little bit and start to come forward with a long back. You can stay in this eagle wrap, and you can end up kind of parallel to the floor, right? So your arms are kind of hanging. You're still wrapped up. And if you're like, there is no way I'm doing that, don't do it. And, of course, if you want to keep going and let the top of the head go down towards the floor, you can pull the elbows up in towards your ribs or wherever they want to go to and still be all wrapped up there, which is an interesting experience. One more breath. Whichever one you're doing now, unwind your arms and bring your hands on down and bend one knee at a time. You can use blocks under your hands, you know that. Bend one knee at a time, let yourself release there. And then come on back into center if you need a setup with a block underneath forearms or a block under your head. Let yourself be easy and switch around a couple of times. If you get yourself into this pose and you stay for a couple of breaths and you realize you're not going to want to stay here much longer, then adjust, let yourself release into a little bit different position in the pose. And so that when you do come to that place where the only thing you feel like doing is focusing on your breath and you can let go of your upper body, then there you are. Be in the pose. Be with your breath. One more full, complete deep breath. And when you're ready to walk yourself on out and over to your left foot, just take your time as you come on back to find your lunge there. And then we'll make our way back into downward facing dog pose. Once you're in dog, bring your knees down to the mat, shift back towards pose of a child. Let your hands walk over towards the right. And take a couple of breaths there into the left side of the body. And then walk hands back through center and go over to the left and breathe into that right side of the body. Good. And then come on back into center. Take a breath here in your child's pose, letting yourself feel the low back rise as you inhale. And then we'll stretch our arms overhead. We're going to come on back into our downward facing dog pose from here. And then take your time. If you want to add vinyasas or kriyas, you can. You don't need to. You're on your own. You can stay in your dog pose if you'd rather. Just do one or two or three of them, because we're then going to meet back once you finish off in down dog. Once you're back in your dog, really find your down dog. Bend your knees a little bit, reach back through your sitting bones, feel your elbows hugging towards each other, and press your feet apart like you're trying to widen your mat. Good, and from here, we're going to bring our right foot forward. We're coming up for warrior two. So be mindful again, getting those heels aligned. And again, if you get your stance there and you lift that front heel, it really helps your knee line up properly there. Feel that sense of being equal between the big toe mound and the little toe mound. Letting your heel float on down from there. And then bringing your arms up. Again, higher than your hands, a little higher than your shoulders, but look down towards the front edge of your mat, just to release your neck there. And now when the hands come down a little bit and your gaze comes to look right out over that top hand, reach back equally through your left hand. And try imagining you're lengthening your mat with your feet. You're feeling the feet press away from each other, feeling that all the way up into your hips. We'll turn our right palm up and inhale. Let the left hand give you a little support back there as you inhale into the right side. And on your exhale, coming into that side angle. So again, it can be your hand or your forearm that goes to your thigh. And then go ahead and add that left arm up into line if you can. See if you can feel your head in line with your spine. Feel the pinky finger turning down towards the floor. Press into that right forearm and let your right palm turn up and spread your hand too. So you have some energy going on there. Now let the left arm come straight up from your shoulder. You're going to circle it down towards your leg, and then you're going to let it come right in front of your chest, in front of your face, and swing it right back up into line where it just feels, oh, that's the perfect place. One more breath. And then we're going to come on back into warrior two, pressing those feet away from each other as we come. Let's bring our hands down, turn our feet more parallel. Again, you might want to adjust the width of your stance. 5-pointed star. Bringing those arms on out and up higher than your shoulders and reach out through the fingertips. Pay attention to your pelvis. Make sure you're not tucking the pelvis up under you. You're feeling the tailbone reach back. Like if your heels were in mountain pose, you'd be reaching directly to your heels or a little behind them. We're going to bring the right arm over the left, and again, a hug or heading towards half eagle or eagle wrap if you choose to. Letting yourself release there, feeling, if you can, the elbows just float up a little bit, the shoulders release down. Good, now from here, if you feel all right to do this, you can bring your elbows down and start to come forward with knees bent to where you're parallel to the floor with a long back. And your arms are kind of hanging there, releasing the shoulders there. If you want to continue to go upside down with your top of the head facing the floor, you can pull your elbows up a little bit and maybe be able to just enjoy a little bit longer there. And then unwind your arms, let your hands come to blocks or the floor, whatever you want to use, and then bend your right knee, stay there for a breath. And then bend your left knee and stay there for a breath. And then do that again, side to side a little bit so you release through your legs a little bit more. Good. And then come on back into center. And again, you release to set up however you choose. Grab blocks if you want. Get out of your hands, be on your forearms if you'd rather. Maybe you feel like you want to put your hands on your ankles or between your feet or up on your back. You know, if you want to clasp your hands on your back, let your arms come off your back, that might feel good. Good, one more breath. Let your face go. And we are going to release so that we can walk back over towards our right foot to come on back into lunge. And we'll make our way back into downward facing dog pose. And go for whatever feels good. You know that. Whatever works for you right now, do it. You need to open your hips if you'd rather come into some vinyasas or kriyas. Let it feel good to move into whatever movement you need to do. Good. And then meet back in down dog. And we're going to separate our feet wider on our mat once we get there, and we're going to walk our hands on back. You're welcome to put your elbows above your knees and let yourself stay right there to squat. You can, if you feel better, to bring your hands back between your feet and around to the outside of your ankles. You can do that, and you don't have to go down any further with your hips, but if you want to, you can. You can bring your hips down. You know, and if none of those sound good to you, if you'd rather let your feet turn heels inward, toes outward a little bit, and bring your hands into prayer hands in front of you and feel your legs gently coming in towards your arms in your squat, you can. So do what feels the best for your hips and your back. You know that. Not anything that puts stress on your knees. If anybody wants to practice a little crow pose, you know, you're more than welcome to bring your hands to the floor and bring your feet more together so that you can lift up a little bit and balance a little bit. Not necessary. That's only if it feels like fun to play with an arm balance there. Remember, it's the wrists that get a lot in this pose, probably more than anything. So when you're ready to release out of all of that, we're going to bring our hips up in the air and get our feet right underneath us. And we're going to bring our hands on up to our hips and bend our knees and rise straight on up to standing. And we'll inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, imagine your head is getting closer towards the ceiling as your hands come down in front of your heart. And let your hands barely touch. I mean, like they're separate them where they're not really touching, but it's just such a small amount you can still feel the heat of your hands and the energy coming off your hands towards each other. And then very softly allow the hands to come back to, for every finger to, you know, connect again in your thumbs, whatever part of your palms touch. And then feel that lightness in your head. Enjoy coming into your mountain pose. Good. We'll let our arms then release on down beside us and do whatever you need to do. Walk around if you need to. We're going to move our mats to a wall. So let's bring the short edge of our mat into a wall. And take your time, bring everything with you. We're staying here like this. And we are going to get a block. And we're going to bring a block between, if you turn your left hand towards the wall, bring the block lowest height between your left foot and the wall there, just in case. We'll use it for a second and then you have the option of not to use it, but let's engage first with it. So standing on your left foot for eagle pose and wrapping your right thigh over the top of your left, putting your toes on that block, and then sitting back with your hips like you're going in the chair pose. Your torso comes forward so that sends your thighs together. So the lower you go, the more you can really feel your thighs squeezing. Really squeeze your thighs towards each other. And imagine you're lifting your pelvic floor up too. And then you can bring your hands to your heart, keep the toes on the block for a second. You can go ahead and do the full left arm over right eagle wrap because you've got a little more support there under your toes, and you can maybe get all going in the shoulders and the hips if that feels good. One more breath. And now unwind, come on up. We're just going to turn around and do the other leg, so it's kind of like a warm-up. We're going to bring our left thigh over the top of the right one, put our toes, left toes on the block. Bend your right knee, so now your thighs come together, your hips shift back, your torso comes a little forward. And you're going to squeeze your thighs towards each other, feel your pelvic floor lift up. Maybe you just want to bring your hands to your heart, try a little balance there, or bring your right arm over your left and come into your wrap. So just enjoy feeling the strength there in your thighs, your hips, all around your knee. Wow, it's really a great pose. And we'll come on back up out of that. We're going to turn around and go the other way. One more time. You can do that same thing, or you can decide you don't want to use the block at all. You can cross your thigh over your thigh and flex the right foot so that, well, you can use the block, put your toes there, and then maybe lift your toes up. You can do the full wrap. If you're a wrapper and you want to wrap around that right foot, around behind your left calf, you're more than welcome to do that, right? Just be very, very mindful of that knee that you're standing on. It's a very intense pose in knees. It can do a number, so just be mindful. Take your time. If you need to keep your hand on the wall, do.
Sweat.
And then when you're ready, let yourself come on out of it. We're going to go to the other side. So again, you can bring your thigh over. You can put your toes on the block again. You can decide, well, if I put my hands at my heart and I try to flex my toes off the block, can I do it? Can I balance there? If you feel like trying to wrap your foot around behind, you can. You can bring yourself into as much of a balance here as you want or as little, right? Good. And then when you're ready, let yourself come on out of it. Release fully. We're going to turn around towards the wall with our feet back towards the wall and come on down into a child's pose with our toes touching the wall. So let your hips release here now. In fact, if you can, be kind of on your forearms in front of you, and then let your shoulders and your torso go one way and then the other. So you're not like moving your arms or your hands, you're just letting the torso shift one way and then the other. So maybe you find a little bit more release in the low back, right? Good. And just take your time and then release however you need to. Nice full breath. Good. And now we're going to reach our arms long overhead. Coming into your child's pose now with your arms long overhead. And then we'll come on up to all fours. And we're going to come into down dog with our heels up the wall. Now, as you do, press back out of your hands. Feel your elbows hugging towards each other. Now, all we're going to do here at first is come out to plank. Now, you might find, that your hands are maybe not in the right place for plank. If that's the case, change it. So go back to your dog, and if you're like, well, I need to have a longer dog to be able to come out comfortably to my plank, then that's what you want to do, right? So you want to find that at first, just for fun. And you can move from down dog to plank to your up dog if you want, while you're right there at the wall, to where you push back into the heels, you move through to your up dog, those kriyas, where you go down dog, and then up dog, and then down dog, and then up dog, if you're going to have a lot of fun, and then finish off. And from there, let's bring our feet closer together in our dog and put one foot up the wall if we can. If you don't want to do that, don't do it. And you're probably in a pretty long stance there. It's just a little different. Put that right foot down and put your left foot up. And hug your elbows towards each other. Good. And then come on back down with that foot. Lower your knees down to the floor. And take a break here. Whether you go in child's pose or you want to sit up and release your wrists. So you might want to take one hand and encircle one wrist at a time. Open and close your hands. And you can decide if you want to play any more towards like a handstand work, or maybe you prefer to be on your forearms here and go up into your dolphin and work. Same thing with one leg up at a time. Or you may want to have a steeper dog, right? And let yourself come a little more like walking hands back and letting yourself play a little more like that. Or you can walk up the wall, of course. So you pick your little inversion work right here. And if you're like, I don't want to do any inversions, don't do them. You can take your time to release where you need. And if you're working on your forearm stand, you can turn around and actually do that. Just be mindful of enjoying being upside down. There's nothing like it. Heaven.
They're supposed to get orphans or something like that from these.
Yeah.
Head being down.
Yeah.
Okay. I need it.
Energizing. It changes the brain.
Maybe I just do one of these at home all the time.
Yeah.
You do it?
No, I said maybe I need
yeah,
to.
maybe you need to. Yeah. Hard thing at home is finding a wall to practice. For a lot of people who are finding a place where you can do this.
Well, I hear people get inversion tables now.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
And for back and then
Yeah.
I feel better.
I go against the door.
You do it against the
Yeah.
door?
Yeah.
Okay, good for you.
I'm sorry?
I said good for you.
Oh.
Maybe I need to do that.
Yeah. Well, we are going to, if you want to go up one more time, do. We are going to head our way to sitting, so like when you get ready to take your time, if you're already rested and you want to bring yourself to sitting, do. And if you need to finish off the one you're on, and then let yourself rest for a second, do. We'll just bring our legs in front of us once we're sitting. Oh, but we are going to get our strap. So get your straps, undo your straps. And, we started with, get far enough away from the wall where you're not going to bang your head. We started with that at the beginning of class. We did just a little boat pose, right? So we're going to do a little boat pose with a strap where you hold on, say, 8, 12 inches from your feet, and then you lift your feet up. And so you can lean back without hopefully collapsing like this in your chest. You can feel your chest rising up. Now, if you're like, I would like to get closer to my feet, actually, then you can think of coming closer to your feet. And then you can decide if it feels very good to stretch your legs up higher and let your gaze come out over the top of your feet. Like, so you're not really focused on your feet, you're a little above. And you can get that lift there in your boat pose. Breathe. If you can, kind of look at your feet. Maybe you probably have your big toe mounts together. Maybe separate your heels just a little tiny bit, and you'll see that the outside edges of your feet are parallel. Maybe. Good. So try not to tense your neck. That's the hardest part, right? Try to let go of your neck, and I know try not to put it into your shoulders. Good, and then bring your feet on down. And we're going to come down, try to keep your strap. We're going to come down to our backs. And we're going to bring our feet right on up into the air in the strap. And we're going to open right away into a wide angle. Hooray! Letting yourself go as far as you want out on that strap, so that you feel that sense of being able to use the strap to help you, right? You've got control. You only go as wide as you want. You can feel that ease of opening up through the inner thighs. You can have your knees bent, that, a little bent or straight. See if you can imagine drawing your strap towards you. So you're actually kind of pulling the strap towards you, but send your tailbone down. And there's a lot of little added extra work going on there. It feels really opening for the inner thighs. Good. One more breath. And now bring your feet on up. Go ahead and take your strap on off. Bring your knees on into your chest. Now, if you feel like drawing your face in towards your knees and turning into a little ball, do. If you're like, no way, that is the most awful feeling, don't do it. But if it feels good, you can. And then you can bring yourself down with your upper body. Let your knees go side to side a little bit. Let's bring our feet then down to the floor and come on into a bridge pose. So whether you decide to do a supported bridge or bring your arms down alongside you, set up your feet parallel and feet a little wider than mountain and floating on up as you press into the backs of your arms. Take your time. Grab blocks if you want and stay supported. If you're feeling kind of like, oh my gosh, my hips need more release, the front of my hips, you can always get on a block, any height, and then just let your leg, one leg at a time, come long till you can get a little more release in the front of the hip. Or you can do both legs at the same time. That's up to you. Or you can do none of that, Be in your bridge. If you want to come down and do a full back bend, feel free to do that. If you want to put your hands kind of underneath your low back to give you support instead of a block, you can do that. So take your time. When you're ready to come down, just let yourself release. And if you're not ready and you need to stay a little bit longer, do. I'm going to start to get some lights, and then once you come down, if you need to do any other movement or pose, by all means do it. You might need some twisting here on your back. You might need let yourself come into anything else, actually, that feels good. I would be happy to bring bolsters, anything that'll help you be more comfortable, just wave at me. I'd love to bring you support. If you get to where you feel like just a little bit of something will help, just wave your hand at me for whatever it is that might be useful. And then just let yourself start to sink down here. Bring your shoulders down away from your ears. If that means you kind of have to soften your shoulders down a little bit, do. Let the weight of your legs help you find release all the way up into your hips. And just receive your breaths now, in and out through your nose. Just let those little quiet places give you time to benefit in whatever way you need from all you just did, just by letting yourself completely and fully relax. accepting your breath wants to deepen a little bit, which allows your body to start to want to wake up again. Your fingers, your toes, your hands, your feet start to move when you're ready, and might even feel good to let your head roll side to side. Just come back into gently moving the way you need. Whether you decide it feels better to stay on your back or roll onto either your right or your left side, you just really want to take your time so that nothing feels abrupt. It just feels like this gradual coming back to being physical again. Do feel okay to rise up to sitting. See if you can stay very soft and kind of float your way up. Sit however feels comfortable in your hips, and then lastly, let yourself come on up into that length upward where your head is up there on top again. And feel your shoulders releasing down, the top of the head reaching up. Feel grounded through your sit bones, and it's very easy to breathe once you're sitting up nice and tall again. So feel your breath coming in and going out through your nose. And on your next exhale, let your hands come gently together there in front of your chest. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste.